Hello and welcome back to the Fantasy Take TV podcast. It is round 10. The buys are coming up and we've got a lot to discuss. So before we get to round the table to the boys, we'll discuss on this today's show the obviously MVP and fold of the week, how we went. Some injury news. There's some big injury news, of course, and some that's come through today as JD shakes his head. But some other news, DPP updates. Of course, that comes basically when the buys start, after round 11 for round 12. We've also got some targets, of course, that we're going to be looking at, and then some rookies to get us through that. But George, how did you go this week, my friend, and who was your MVP and fault?
I think I had my best week ever in this game. So I think I was ranked 126 for the round, 2,728. So very happy. Honestly, confidence was pretty shot before this week, but a few players like your Steele, Brayshaw came good. So that was fantastic for me. Trades were, so bring it up. I brought in Andy Brayshaw and Josh Weddle and traded out Wilmot and Hopper. So I think Wilmot didn't really want to trade him, but I'm happy with those two. I do like the Freo run coming up. Depleted Melbourne, then after the bye, 3 straight Optus. So I do like Sarong and Brayshaw. But yeah, team went very well this week. It was quite shocking. I think MVP has to be it's between Steele and Weddle. Still for getting up, but getting a rookie ton from Weddle, I couldn't believe it. 2 goals in the first quarter. It's probably the most enjoyable Supercoach experience watching a rookie do that, kick 2 goals in the first quarter. So MVP has to go to Weddle. Wasn't expecting that sort of performance. Fault of the week is William Day. Got tagged 74, but role's still there, but a little bit worried about his output coming up.
Tag. Come on.
I just see Nash and Nash, Warple, and who's the other one? Newcomb. Nash and Newcomb especially scoring really well lately. So I'm slightly concerned that eats into Day. Like I'm hoping he can do 95 from here, which I'll take, but we'll assess as we go. But yeah, maybe a bit harsh because he got tagged, but just need more from him. But yeah, you're right. A bit unfair on him. So pleasing week, I guess. And then I think the interesting parts with Oliver, I think that'll be a big decision for hold or trade and who to. So we'll discuss that soon. So JD, how did you go?
I went okay. I had a 25-72, which is like a good score any other week. Felt pretty average this week, to be perfectly honest. I moved up 30 ranks to 136 overall. But I'm struggling, mate. I'm struggling hitting the kombucha hard tonight because, oh boy, the injury news hits you like a truck. But we'll get to that in a minute. The MVP, look, give it to my boy, Zachy Merritt. It's like clockwork that we trade him in this time of year when he delivers. And the scene was kind of set, big Dreamtime game. We had Shear, Setterfield, and Parrish all out this week, and he stood up and delivered at the helm of a young midfield, did all the defensive stuff that you like to see as well, and putting up 162 points on debut, sub 560-ish price point. Absolutely love to see that. So, yeah, I think it's hard to go past him. And then, look, I don't think there's anything of fault of the week. You already handed one out today. The really only other, sub tons were, like Ryan, who is a rookie that was forced to play forward. So, I'm not going to for 58. And then, what Zeeble did in ton this week, big deal. So, rather than giving a second fault, I'm going to give a MVP mark 2. And it's going to be a bounce back award for Jackson. Got fault of the week last week, but deserves a bit of praise with his 160 kind of, fixing things up this week, getting to go behind the ball a little bit more with Steele moving up. So, I think I'm going to break the rules and award the points like that this week.
Fair enough, JD. Looking at my team, I can't see too much as well, even though we did score exactly the same. I was victory lapping a 2-point win over you until Jelly got a couple of points. I think it was a Jelly. It might have been Jelly. But
Marshall, I think Marshall went down 1, Jelly went up 2, and look, very reminiscent of the Dreamtime game. I think you're doing some victory laps there early in the 4th too.
It's good to see a team play all right, but another choke there. From the Tigers, I think there's been 12. Look, a lot going on, but we did score the same. I did move up 1,000 spots just to sit outside the top 2,000. So, look, can't complain about that as I've been going down a bit recently, but George to give it MVP to Weddle. There's not much else to go, and I'll give it to one of my trade-ins in Bailey Humphrey, which saved my week somewhat there, getting another ton from a rookie. So I got 2 rookie tons this week, and still didn't go too massive, in the grand scheme of things compared to a lot of other people, but that did save me. So he will definitely get the MVP there. Happy I got him, but the fault I'll give to myself in going Tom Stewart in this week over Zach Merritt. So, cost me 70 points there. Kind of means now with some news I'm not able to get Merritt this week. He sort of priced himself out of 2 moves, seeing that I'm probably going to get led in. That looks like an obvious one. So yeah, Merritt's priced himself out. Stewart lost. What did he lose? 30k or 20k. And I was sort of deciding I'll go one this week, one the next. Went the wrong order, of course, and so that's been probably the story of my year. But still within arm's reach of the top 1,000, which I guess is the ultimate goal. And ride the coattails of you, JD, so if you can secure that top 100, which we'll discuss ways you can do that. But yeah, I thought we'll obviously give a bit of a shout out to the community off the top. Namely Locke sitting number 1 now. It sort of was probably coming. I think he's been top 10 for a few weeks. So he finally overtook the guys ahead of him now and has a great team to set himself up for the rest of the year. I think the team value's through the roof. And then another one in Geiger, who's also 20th, I think, right, boys, and his team value. Like, they're probably the top 2 team value in the whole game. So it'd be interesting to see how they go head to head.
Are we seriously going to pronounce that Geigo? We go.
It's probably should have asked him by now, but it is what it is to me.
One of us is right, hopefully. I think we've also got Dependabreeze, who's like 17, and then there's a bunch of other guys actually in the top 100. I think in the Fantasy Take TV group, there's at least 10 that are in the top 100. So, I'm like 15th with the 136 rank. A lot of guys that are right up at the top end at the moment.
Yeah. Bex is 105th, but yeah, and thus all the leagues as well. Absolutely dominating still, and
is it 20 of the top 25 20-man leagues now are Fantasy Tech TV leagues?
Something like that. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, we'll firstly get into some major news, I guess. Injuries. That's good thing that we've sort of moved the show to Tuesday a little bit. We get to see all this, and we obviously knew about Clary. Not sure his time frame, still not, but obviously the big news dropping of Josh Kelly, who you have, JD, as well, being out for 4 weeks. Jaws, does this concern you, right, with Clary's news all up in the air? They both seemingly played through it, right? I think Kelly did his around halfway through the game, played it out, still got a ton, which is, you take that, JD, all day.
Yeah, better than being
Clary did his in the third quarter, or three-quarter time. So
yeah,
both played it at the games. Josh Kelly of GWS, have come out straight away and said he's out for a month. Does that concern you at all, George, with Clary? And is that, I know you're trading him out. Is that a big reason why? Just you're not sure?
Oh, I just want to get out of this. I don't know how long. I don't know how it'll affect him after when he comes back. I'll be trading.
This is
get me out now.
You're trying to justify this to yourself because you want the money. Let's
be
real.
Hang on.
You want the money. If you had a car in the bank, you wouldn't be considering.
There is a serious priority. Okay. LeBron James Sicily has the best matchup in football, and he has his third tall rollback. He said that post game. His break even is 50. Sicily has to come in. I don't care how. He has to come in. I have an excuse to get him. So that is part of it. If I don't get Sicily this week, and he has a big game against the easiest defensive opponent, or the team that gets up the most of defenders, then he's gone. And I'm tight for money, so I will be trading Clary. So the priority on Sicily and the uncertainty around the timeline of Clary. Not only that, I got 6 premiums out next week. I'll be lucky to field 19, 20, including Chester, but he's a red dot, so we'll call it 19. Assuming we get Ford and Wardlaw, so that's including those 2. I'll be trading. I guess it's for my personal circumstances, so maybe we get more info during the week because it's very sketch at the moment. Did they say, I think, at least a couple of weeks? A few weeks, I think they said.
It's a hammy. It can't be any less than that, right? Unless it's
Josh Kelly or Oliver. Are we talking here?
Oliver.
The one
so
we don't
they
know.
said it. No, so I don't like. Melbourne said it was short term. The reporters were saying it could be up to a month. but like I don't think they've officially time framed it unless the AFL website's been updated with a time frame, which I'm just trying to look at the moment for NAM. Where are they at? It just says TBC. So I think the things that are like positive on the Oliver injury front. So he trained yesterday and did like some drills, like some hip thrust type things, some running type drills, and some light kicking. And typically these aren't activities you do like the day or two after hammy, because you're still quite like, if it's a bad hammy, you're still like sore. You can't really do these activities. So for him to actually be doing them this early, I think is quite a positive sign. And really, it's all about him being able to manage the training load and getting back to full fitness. And so I just like I have a feeling, just no medical background, no experience with these types of things, don't know Melbourne at all, but just have a feeling based on what I've read so far that, and like knowing what I'm about, he's more likely to be back in 2 than 4 is what my best guess is at the moment. But maybe that's just because I want to hold him and I'm just trying to justify it to myself.
Yeah.
What if
decision? Go on.
What are you sort of expecting to, like, what's the time frame you're expecting? Are you expecting 2 weeks? Are you expecting 3 weeks? If you held him and he was out till his bye, would you be okay with that? Next week?
It would suck. It would suck, but I think I'd just like. I think it's more he's back next week than after the bye.
It's very tricky, George. Like 3 games.
It's very difficult.
In the bye.
We need more info on this.
Considering, yeah.
So I mean, being the like desperate super coach sad man that I am, I'll be sitting on the Demonland board reading training this week, trying to glean any information, following every bloody Twitter reporter. It's going to be a thing.
The other way I hold is if they come out and say 1 week. Otherwise, he's gone. 2 weeks and he's gone for me.
I'm trading him, and I don't really even super desperate for the money. Like I can still get an upgrade done that I was looking to do this week. It's just I'd see no reason for them to rush him back from anything like this. It's if it's an awareness, as they like to say these days, could that be one that if he does, come back after 2 weeks, then he does properly pull it, while he, coming back and playing. It's tough. And look, I'm staring down 13 trades at the moment, and you start to worry that that's getting low. I'm sitting in the boat of trading him, but we haven't really had a time frame, so it's very hard to say.
So he has a hamstring strain. That's a fact. That's what they're saying, and they just said he'll be out for the short term. So what is short term? That sounds like at least 2 to me.
I mean,
could be 1, but that sounds more likely 2 than 1.
Look, under their thing on the AFL website, it says Oliver will be sidelined indefinitely after scans confirmed a hamstring strain. So, that's at least a game. Obviously, I don't see how there's a sort of 1 week hammy. There kind of has been sometimes these days with those awareness type ones. I think Dusty only came back off one last year, like very short term, but still, like, if it is 2 weeks, why bring him back for 1 game just before the bye anyway? Would you just give him a month off? That's sort of how I see it playing out. But
I have a feeling that the club will want to, but he'll want to be. He wants to win the Brownlow. He wants to play. Like he's missed 1 game in 5-6 years. Like I just don't think that they're going to be able to hold him out if he's fit. So I think the club will want to be conservative. I don't think Clowry will be, and I think that's why he's already back at training 1 day after the supposed injury. At training, going through tests already. So I just think that, yes, normally this would be a longer injury than what it's going to be for Oliver. But anyway, it's just gut optimism. So we're still speculating. Let's wait for news this week and see what happens.
Yeah.
We might find out from training on Thursday. It's definitely going to be a month.
Yeah. Let's just hope we hear something this week before we have to obviously lock in any trades. So Jelly's the other one, JD. I know you have him. He's not majorly owned, but there are still a few people out there that would have him, and they've just come out and straight up said he's 4 weeks out with his hamstring. So obviously, makes it a little bit easier, I guess, knowing that he's a must trade. And then you could move on from there. And then Drury's the other one that sort of popped up. We're not really sure if he's going to miss this week, but did have some hip problems and adductor or something weird going on there that was affecting his sprinting or, sprinting efforts. So, look, doesn't look like it's been a great trade in at this point. Oh, Drury, just hope he plays during the buys and gives you something.
I mean, the good news is that maybe there's an excuse for his poor scores and they'll persist with him and he won't get dropped. But I mean, it feels like this is the typical get dropped and this is a red dot from here.
Yep.
They had Cooper Harvey kick 5 in the VFL, so I think that'll be a straight swap.
Yeah, that's a debut.
Interesting. Moving on to some DPP news. Obviously, we're sort of updating that every week as Herald Sun do, and we get some news and as it comes near to the second updates of the year. Track is basically not going to get it at this point, even furthered by the fact that Clary probably misses. You'd think he'd be expected to be playing some more midfield this week, sitting at 29%. So, don't think he's going to be able to flip his switch all the way up to 35 in one game. Gawn teetering right on the edge at 35, but are we really enticed by him? Seeing what we've seen, that Grundy's still getting the main ruck. George, what have you seen?
That's a worry if you have Gawn. I think it was a play if you had Grundy. That's what I would have done. But yeah, if he doesn't get it, and you're going to get, he's not a full-time ruck, whereas Darcy, English, and all those not low owned. Witts is actually like 115 as well, so you're going to give up a lot of points in that position. Do you want him? If McAndrew, so I think the injury report on what's his name, Laddams, is pretty serious. I didn't check the injury report, but they said it was like a substantial injury. McAndrew could hold for a long time, and he could be the rookie ruck cover. And then instead of getting a Gawn as your F6, there might be someone better, which is obviously Zach Butters. Miles better, but yeah, hell, I'm not getting, no chance I get him at his price. So I don't think he's a top 6 forward. I think as a budget option, he'll be okay, but I am slightly concerned with the ruck split. So I think his average, you take out the 0, I think it's still low hundreds, which is okay. So I'll let that one play out till post buy and I think make a bit more informed decision then, because he might not even get DPP. He's right on the edge, so let that one play out.
Yeah, for sure. And just Laddams is set for a lengthy stint. He's another one that's got the old TBC next to his name, but lengthy obviously means it's somewhat relevant. And yeah, we'll get to McAndrew later when we talk about the rookies. Sam Walsh. Now this hurts me a little, but was 40%, looking very likely. But George Hewitt got managed / dropped. I think he was carrying something and has been all year, and they sort of just gave him a bit of a rest. Obviously came on as a sub, and Sammy Walsh was playing full-time mid, at all the CBAs in the top 3 sort of mids for that game. Then when Hewitt came on, Kennedy sort of got pushed to defence, so he sort of held that and played 96% time in the midfield. So none of that off half forward stuff, which helps you get the DPP, and he's back actually under the threshold at 34%. And if that team lineup continues with Hewitt out of the team, I don't think it would. That's probably the other week they wanted to give him, half minutes, and he's probably back this week. But hey, don't know what Carlton are going to do. But Walsh needs about 40% forward this week to get back over the threshold, I believe. So interesting, but
this is the last week before DPP too, so it really comes down to this week. Like for Walsh and Gawn, are they over or under 35% determines in or out? Tracker, he was already trending down, but with Oliver out, you can't see him getting a big forward game. So I think just put a line through him. And then Jack McRae hasn't exactly looked good outside of this week. Even if he gets DPP, it doesn't really seem like he's a must-have. And in fact, his teammate Baslenka probably looks the more interesting one of the two. So the DPP kind of has gone from being really hot and interesting for this round through to potentially a fizzler, depending on how this week goes if Walsh and Gawn don't get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like McRae, obviously much beloved Supercoach player we've owned across the years, but he's, season CBAs are sitting at 40% in the last 2 weeks. It's, 9 and 20. Like he hasn't been in there at all. Caleb Daniels, been a mainstay in there. Baz, obviously, when he's come back. And there's still Treloar to come back as well at some point in the next fortnight or so, I believe. So, hard to pick him, although he did score 140 on the weekend without any CBAs. But I still believe he's playing a bit around the ball. He is there as an option, even with his year, how he's gone with his low mid time. He's still averaging like 105, 106. So as a forward, you've still got to look his way, but you are going to be, tearing your hair out every week, seeing him not, in the midfield as much as you'd like. So one to watch. Maybe Caleb Daniel-George goes back to defence with JJ out. Is that something, that could happen? Possibly. But you'd obviously want to wait and see.
Honestly, I've no idea what Bevo is up to. He just, I don't know.
Mate, why are we trying to even predict? Like, this is a waste of time. You're going to be wrong anyway. Yeah. And Dogs is bad buy. Just avoid all of them. I wouldn't touch.
I think just the interesting thing is Dogs have 5 in a row at Marvel coming up. I think this week they're in Darwin, then bang 5 at Marvel. So I think that makes Baz somewhat interesting. And they've got North in that fixture too. Yep. So it's again like that buy. I think it probably blocked us from Butters for the most part. So yeah, it's pretty much impossible for most people.
Yeah. Look, I'll sit here and I won't disrespect McRae. He's still been averaging 106, as I said, with this, uncertain role. So he can still score. But yeah, it'll probably be hard to bring him in when Baz is a bit cheaper and he's getting those CBAs.
If McRae's at the right price and I need a cheap F6, I wouldn't mind it. I think the CBAs are concerning still, but I think he can still do 100 in this role.
Yep. He's still up, up around stoppage. He's that type of guy that finds a lot of the ball.
He gets score assists and stuff.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, obviously monitor that over the next week with Walsh and Gawn being the main ones that have only played. I think is it 5 or 6 games up to this point, maybe 7. So that it only takes one game for them to really swing their average, whereas Track not going to, and McRae doesn't seem like you boys are interested. So some buy preparation, obviously that is coming up very, very soon. A bit different this year with them being across 4 weeks. Why, I don't know, but it's obviously given us a bit of an easier one in round 13 with just Geelong and Gold Coast. And I guess round 12 as well, right, with only 4 teams. But we do own a few primos from that buy. But what's your overarching takeaway, or how you're going into this buy period, George? Have you planned out what trades, or just going by the motion, seeing what you can do, or how you're approaching it?
Just trying to have balanced premiums out. I think I've got 6 out in the first one, maybe 7 out in the third one, and then another 7 in the fourth one. I think something like that. So yeah, I think it's just grab Wardlaw and Ford, and maybe Fahey if he comes in, which makes the last buy even more difficult. And hopefully they can get some scores through the buys. So I'll be relying on them a fair bit to get my 18th and 19th scores. If I get injuries and I have to field donuts, which would otherwise be rookies, I'll probably just cop it. Low trade count for me. I'm not really in position. I'd love to grab like a Bailey Humphrey, even at his price, even though it's not ideal. It's more for the points on the field. So yeah, I don't know. Might net you 100 to 150 over the buys. So I won't be going there. But if I had a bunch of trades and heaps of money sitting on the bench, I'd make that move. But no can do. So I think, to make up the numbers, grab Wardlaw and Ford next week.
Yep. JD, how are you looking? And what planning are you doing coming up?
Not good. Not good. I think I'm looking at 12 at the moment with some of the rookies that are dying. I'm going to struggle to make 18 for that. Obviously, everyone's going to feel like 21 plus in round 13. Big whoop.
Yep.
And then the other 2, it's looking like roughly 16 playing for each at the moment. To the point where I'm like, do I force in some round 13 players this week? Do I force Bailey Humphrey? Do I force, I don't know, Jeremy Cameron? Like, what do I do here to actually start fixing this up? Because do need to consider, and as George's pointed out, all the downgrade options like Fleeton, Wardlaw, Eddie Ford, it's all in that last buy as well. So I'm having a real hard time figuring out how we're actually going to fix this and get it going in the right direction. And the ones in from some of the earlier buys, Sharp, Johnson, obviously Constable, everyone has, Dave, if you're still holding him, Roberts, they're all like not playing or injured. So or on very shaky grounds. This is going to be very sketchy. I think what George is saying around like might just have to cop some donuts rather than forcing stuff. I think it's probably right. I think we've seen this from prior years where people have forced themselves to get 18 and they get the 18th, but it's a 30-pointer, and then you wasted a trade that didn't end up doing anything good for your team. So I think one thing to keep in mind is not to overreact. A lot of people are in the same boat. Those who have gone slightly more heavy on the Gold Coast guys, a little bit of a better position, but to be honest, like Noah Anderson hasn't exactly scored well. The Cats haven't scored well outside of Stew. And then really it's just been Humphrey and that and kind of the nice pickups that you can hold through. So, everyone's going to be in the same bad boat. And just, I think, not overreacting to a single week, keeping the level be what helps. But obviously by planning now and looking at, these forced trades, whether it be an Oliver or a Kelly or whoever it may be, and then figuring out how do I get off some of these red I can, and then bringing in primos who are going to help me through the buys is what you should be trying to do.
Yep, definitely keep trying to upgrade if you need to. Right this week, I'm doing the same. We'll talk about some primos later, but like Laird looks a great option if you don't have him coming in. But yeah, I like George's point. Next week, probably not going to be doing much. Fix your dead bench, get some, playing rookies in like those North fellas, hopefully, not only going to help you across the buys, hopefully get some more cash gen going that we'll desperately need. And then, we'll get 3 trades every week, remember that from starting next week and, be able to hopefully navigate them well. But I am with you, George, depending on your trade count. I'm not, say I'm looking at round 14 with 17, I'm probably not going to spend a trade on sidewaysing a Constable or he'll be playing or whatever to another rookie for 50 points, unless they look like a great rookie that's going to make us a lot of cash. I'm not going to waste a trade on something like that. Probably just take the 17 scores. But I'm looking okay. We'll talk about Neil and those likes later. I'm not sure if I want to bring him in just a week before his bye, but just got to navigate it well. Hopefully Johnson gets into the team. I know a lot of us carrying him on the bench
I don't know.
for us.
I don't think there's a spot. I don't
without rubbing it in, JD. I've got old Rouston on the bench. He might get in for Kelly. So we'll see.
He should. Rouston should be a shout this week. He had good game
luck
twos
there
as well.
for anyone like me.
He gets a spot.
And maybe
actually, we'll
say
positive. Sharp, by the way, is Brisbane did have a couple of injuries pop up on their list this week. So even though Rich is good to go, Jack Payne had a concussion, who's a more like he's out this week. And then Kitty Coleman had, I think, an issue with his glute. He's a test, and Answorth's got concussion as well, so he's also out a week. So look at this and
he'll hold. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, Rich has to come in, but it looks like Sharp probably gets another week. Hopefully, he avoids the sub this time because I thought he could have actually scored. He could have scored a 70, 75 for us if he actually played out that final bit of the game. But I'm somewhat positive on Sharp getting games. It's just whether he gets them during the bye, need them, right? That's the hard thing. Like if he plays round 14 and 15, hero. If he plays every other round but 14 and 15, I'll curse his name forever. So it's, it's edge stuff for right now.
Yep. Because obviously, 12 the bye, 13 you're not really going to, need him.
13's fine. I don't care. Anyone can take a week off. Big deal. Correct. Oliver's not playing. Who cares, right? Everyone's fielding 18 premiums pretty much that week anyway.
Yeah.
But
14 15 is key for everyone. Yeah,
like in rank 13, no one is moving ranks because it's best 18 and everyone's going to have at least 18 primos. Like honestly, the difference between scores is going to be so minimal.
Yeah, it's going to be who had the best primos that week, I guess. Hey,
yeah. Like if you got the Buddies that went 180 that week, or you got the Merritt that went 162, or the Sinclair, you have a slightly better week, maybe 100 points better, but no one's going huge points that round.
No. Cool. All right, let's get to firstly some concerning premiums that people might have out there, and we'll talk about what we think with them before we do get to some of the guys we look to bring in. But we've got 4 here that we want to speak about. First of those is Noah Anderson. Now, look, very unfortunate.
There's nothing to discuss here. He's got the good buy. You need him. That's why you picked him. You just hold and cop it on the chin. He's always been someone that is up and down, has up and down weeks. And honestly, if you expect Humphrey and Atkins to out and Anderson every week, you got rocks in your head, he'll be fine. Just hold and move on. It's the weirdest thing to cry about. You picked him for the buys, you hold him for the buys. Move on.
Yeah, just something poetic about bringing a guy in though after a 190 for 600k who gets you
It happens.
doesn't
every
even got you
year.
that many points the next 2 weeks, has he?
Yeah, don't chase last week's points. Like you just can see it's going to happen with Merritt. Everyone's going to trade him in that missed him last week, and he's going to get tagged by O'Neill and score like 80. And then you get tears like, is Merritt have to trade him out? Like, what did you expect? Just hold and move on. Sorry, I'm irritable. Anytime.
So what if you?
If you had a
With
lot
the
of
soft
trades,
position.
I could see, and you had no other problems, maybe because you
But
don't trust him
even
anymore.
then-
But why'd you bring him in if you don't trust him now, 2 weeks later? So yeah,
But the thing is, like, even those that like have extra trades and whatever, you still need him for your buys. Like, you don't have that many trades that you can just blow them willy nilly. Otherwise, why'd you bring him in for the buys anyway?
yeah.
He's been copying attention. That's not going to happen every game. Like, I think just chill. Like, he's going to be fine. But I mean, like, we got fake premiums. Like, let's move on. Anderson doesn't deserve the disrespect, honestly.
He's break even's 200. I'd be tempted to. Could be a bad call, but I'd be tempted to cash him in because of his
For
price.
who?
Sicily.
What is,
Bank 80k, and you don't have to sweat on a premium.
it's just not worth a trade.
I guess you're going to get the extra points in the buys as well. So you're almost certainly giving up points over this period.
Bond's break even's 181, and you could make 160k trading him to Sicily. We advocating that this week. It's got the worst buy too.
I'm not against it, to be honest.
Hold Anderson. That's just not. That's not the play.
Adam Sard has been quite the disappointment after starting the season quite hot. People would have jumped on him. It's sort of gone, opposite with him and Doc. All right, Doc, we all sort of jumped off, and now Doc's come back into frame, playing quite well, scoring quite well, and
I did not.
I jumped off. I happily did, and it was the right move.
It was not the right move. You got bailed out by an injury.
At
scoring
600k,
70s for 3
at
weeks.
600k for Dacos, I think you almost had to if he was your only avenue.
Yeah, I didn't have Dacos, so I'll do that 10 times over.
That's fair.
For some reason, like McGovern is like almost droppable now, and then I can't explain what's
They
happened.
moved
to
him
Sard.
forward for the second half. I don't
Yeah.
know what's going on. It's Carlton, mate. That's all you got to say. I don't know
I guess
what's
it's
going on.
I did see McGovern get a ball in like the third quarter. I'm like, oh, he's playing the game. I just like one of the most invisible games I've ever seen from McGov.
Yeah, to be fair,
It's just you see the
walking inside 50.
You see the proven guys at the moment, just like the cream rising to the top. Like you scroll through the top 6 defenders, it's the same blokes as last year now, plus Zeeble and Ryan, who I think is tailing off a bit. So, you see like guys like Doc rise back up. So, I would jump offside. Like, I don't know what's happening. I think he could be fake. He might be okay, but when I'm uncertain, I just jump. But you might not have the trades for that. But I'd jump off, to be honest, just because I don't know what you're going to get from him.
Yeah, well, it's less said about Sard. It's more who are you going to? He's 480k, already dropped a lot of cash.
Same buy as Cogs. I'd pay 30k, get up to Cogs or DPP or something.
Yeah. Who should be good with no Kelly for the next month? He's scoring.
And I think up until the buy, I think they've got like a Mickey Mouse fixture because they've just had a tough fixture. I reckon it's like North and West Coast or something, or like two easy teams.
It's Cats with no midfield this week. Then it's the Tigers with no midfield, and then it's North. So
that's very nice.
Cogs should be all right. Green should be a captain option.
Yes,
nice.
We'll speak about that
Let's
soon.
get to two guys who are more owned in a lot more teams. Will Day, we did mention off the top, was George's fault of the week, was all of ours really, in a very big week from a lot of premiums, but only the 74. I know he got tagged, JD, but I will say that since I've had him, he hasn't turned up for me, and that's been 4 weeks. So he hasn't really done much. I don't blame him totally. He's still finding the footy a bit. He does use it poorly at times, maybe. Takes on some tougher kicks than others. I don't know. Look, I'm going to hold until he's buy no matter what. Just depends really how much cash he drops at that point for me, but I'll definitely see his next 3 weeks out. It's just more, will I hold him past that is a question. So what do you guys see there? I mean, he's still getting decent enough mid-time.
I must say, him missing 2 weeks hurt more than I thought it was going to, because like Warple's found a bit of form now, and he's looking pretty good. Newcomb's found form; he's looking pretty good, and then Nash has really emerged as like like just gone to another level, like this massively tall, impressive midfielder that can kind of do it all. And it's like Day went from being their clear number one mid, like them being, like a much more equitable midfield. And it's hurt a little bit, and then being tagged on top of that hurts. But eye test wise, he still passes it for me. I still think in every game he's played so far, and he's getting the CBAs. So, given the other concerns I've got, like he's a hold to the bias for me. And I'm a little bit surprised by how quick people are to trade him. I kind of get that if you do look at the last month since we traded him, the scores haven't been great. But to be honest, like this week was a hard tag, like a proper hard tag. And then the 3 weeks before that were all like high 80s and 90s against good midfields where they got smacked around. Looks good. It's just he had one, like the fourth quarter, most of those games didn't look particularly good. So I get that he's not a top 6 defender. I don't think we picked him as one. And now we're at the point of the year where people are running low on trades. I think most people seem to still be like keen to use 2 a week, which I just don't think smooth. I think this is the time where if you want to trade him during the buys to like Sinclair or someone that you don't have once that's happened, or Stewart once that's happened, like I think that's fine. But I think trading him now this week is the right play.
George?
I want to jump. You know what I'm like. I'll hold to the buys. I don't think I have the trades for this. I'd probably need to go down to 2 injury trades for the rest of the year. And that's not including any more carnage coming up for the next few weeks, or for the rest of the year. So don't think it's feasible for me to jump. My only concern is, I think as JD said, the rise of Nash and Newcomb's found a bit of form. I think he's gone 110 plus of the past few weeks, bar one game. So just eating into that ceiling. They're still playing him forward for a quarter. So it's when you're on a losing team, you're playing forward for a quarter, and you got other guys taking a lot of points around you. It's getting pretty hard to hit that 95 to 100 mark. If you average 90 for the rest of the year, I'd actually be fine with that. So I'm hoping for that. But I'll assess in the buy round.
I would honestly be very surprised if he averaged less than that. I think the thing that's going to really scare is in 2 weeks they've got Port, and I think Port are pretty Supercoach hungry side, and then the Lions the week after. And I know we had the Gold boys go okay against him, but I could see him having 2 really bad scores into his bye week, and then people just wanting to jump off desperately. But the fixture opens up after that. So post-bye, it's Gold Coast, Carlton, GWS, North, Tigers is the next 5. And that fixture just looks really nice for mid. So, I'm pretty keen to hold for now.
Yeah, look, if we had unlimited trades, I'm sure he'd be gone, but that's not the game and how we play it. So I'll be holding tight for 3 weeks and reassess then. The probably most interesting one of the bunch here is Harry Sheasel. Incredible talent, absolute elite. Watching that North game in the weekend, him and Wardlaw just doing seemingly whatever they wanted in that second half against Sydney. Literally a team who just went to the grand final last year. Obviously went down in the end, but obviously got moved forward of the ball. So played a bit off half forward, then with some stints in the midfield. It wasn't a full CBA role. I think it was about 30 or 40%, but obviously enough to up his scoring in that sense. But it's not going to be as good as his obviously free halfback role. How good is it is the question. Is it going to be still 95? I know he went 112 in this game, but he did kick a couple of goals. That's not going to happen every week. North are going to have their, get absolutely smacked coming up this week against Collingwood. So what does he score in that role? If he's playing Collingwood this week, right? Probably not great, but he's a talent. He could probably still do well.
Yeah. I think this is the really hard thing with Sheasel, because in that forward role, he's not like we got a good week out of him, but the reality is he's not worth 475k. He's not a keeper anymore. And the plan for me, as was with the position he was playing, was we get to their bye and I flip him for Dawson or Sicily. That was always my plan. And you may already have those and it's someone else instead. I think the hard part is that's now so far away. And if he continues to play this role, we're going to get a huge decrease in cash over the next few weeks. And then what do you do? Because there's really no one coming off the first bye unless you want to dabble in Luke Ryan or maybe someone in another line where this works. But I think to get the most out of him, you hold him through to the buys. If you are blessed with trades, then this is actually the one, and Guigo did this move this week of jumping off Sheasel early, playing in this different role to get it upgraded into your side. I just see it as kind of hard now until we actually get into the buys, and then maybe go in for one of the mids coming off the round 12 buy. And that's where, like, how I've adjusted. It was always going to be traded during the buys for me, but now I think it's like, do I have to bring this forward, which is unfortunate, but maybe the play.
What do you reckon, Jods?
Ask me in round 15. I don't think you can trade him. Just wait and see. I think they want him. They want him around the ball. He's getting CBAs.
Okay. Next 3 weeks, who plays more? Who averages more? Sheasel a day? And price.
I have no idea.
I'll back in Day. I
know the role's better. Well, Day's only 60% CBA, and what was Sheasel, like 35, 40?
Day is a really good talent. I know he's not like this hype draft pick, but he's a mature body now. But he looked so good in there at the start of the year.
Who's taking the points in the north midfield?
The other team. She's not going to score anything against these good. They're going to get thumped.
To be honest, Goldie was giving him first use, and they were actually doing really well against the likes of Parker, bloody Chad Warner. Like, these aren't chumps.
Yeah, I get that.
Can he do 90 in a 40% CBA role? I think there's a chance.
Yeah,
I will.
Yeah. But I think Day's better than him in 60% CBA role. So, and this is the thing, right? Like, everyone's like, "Oh, let's trade Day," but they're just looking at the week's score. I still think Day's a better prospect than Sheasel from here to the end of the year, and I don't really think it's close
as well.
Sure, if you're going to get rid of,
I need more data on this.
How many trades have you got? Sheasel's break even's 92, Days is 110. It's not really like that big of a difference. And if you have to hold one the whole day,
I'll wait and see on this
the next 3 weeks, and they'll decide.
To be honest, I get your side of it. It's like, I get Sheasel's talent, and people want to go on that, which I think is fine. But I think just make sure you're assessing on the right things here, and think about the role and body size, teams, fixture, and then does this still make sense, or are you just reacting on one scored 112, the other 74 in a hard tag? What's actually leading your decision making here? What's the process? But I'd back in Day. And definitely world where Sheasel does better. But Day's my boy.
I remember in the preseason, Sheasel was racking it up. They put him in the midfield for a quarter, and he just racked it up.
George, that was his first game doing it on the weekend, and he did that.
Good.
Whereas
good.
Day hasn't done that for a month, so he's insane. He's nuts. I to be honest, I'm backing in that top end talent more than Day. I'm not saying Day's bad, but I'll probably see on the Sheasel thing. But as I said, the next 3 weeks will decide for me. Whoever's going bad, see you later, because I can't afford to trade both. I don't think so.
I wouldn't trade either this week. I think if you are really blessed and you want to do the aggressive thing, then jumping off Sheasel's the one I would jump off, not Day, if I had to pick. And I do think Day will do better than here, and it's not to discount Sheasel's talent, but we've seen Day score well when them getting beaten by really good midfields. Sheasel will score well in a preseason game where there's no heat, and then a game against the Swans, who are struggling at the moment. I don't comparable to what Day's done. Doesn't mean he can't do better than him from here, but I just following my process, I picked Day 9 out of 10 times. Anyway, I've laboured this too long. Let's move on to something more fun.
Defender targets. I haven't jotted them all down to get on screen, but there is a few here. Dawson, I guess, as a non-Dawson owner perspective, JD, how would you say to all those out there that aren't as well in the way you're approaching him and what you possibly getting him?
We have been blessed the last couple of weeks. Let's be real here. For someone that was crushing us with 120s, 130s, and showing ceiling games in the 160s, and to have 2 weeks where he's gone 89 and 92 or something like that is just so much relief, because he's losing a bit of price. He's not 50 points on whichever defender I have in his spot instead. And I think they've got one more hard game this week in the where he may not score as well, but once again Gold Coast scored all right this week. So for me, it was like the plan was to wait until the buys. I kind of already talked flipping Sheasel to Dawson. Like I still want Dawson, but his price is so high I can't really get to him. I guess it's kind of interesting this week that if you've got forced trades in and Josh Kelly, like Dawson actually could be your best option this week. But I think it might either be like sideways if it makes sense there, and if you bounce back pretty quickly, or wait until the buys and upgrade him as your last defender target, or sideways from a Shees or something like that to help with your buys.
You guys have North just before the bye, George. So I'd hate to think.
No, we have West Coast.
Sorry, but sorry.
Shit team. He's gonna. Yeah.
So I think
he's going to take Merritt Scott this week. He's going to take Dawson in a few.
You can't get him before that buy, so I think he's still a post buy, but at least he's a 170 break even. He'll come down a bit, and hopefully that round, if you don't have him, he has a high break even. Maybe he hits it, and then you just get him for $590 or whatever.
Yeah. What was his price a few weeks ago? Like $660 or something like that. And so he's now down at $620. If we can get him under $600 after his buy, that's such a big for those that were on the wrong side of that trade. Honestly, like just count your blessings.
Yep. Tom Stewart, I feel like most have sort of got him in at some point over the last month or so.
Except
besides
for
except for the Stewart Fader Hand Club #1 ticket holder, Giordano.
Looking
even
at
with this good buy, I'm going Sicily.
That's what I mean. That buy round's so good. I was like, who can I? I tried to get Tug a month ago. He shot me in the ass. Witts, he's not really an option anymore. Had his time off, and Noah Anderson sort of was a bit of a up in the air thing. And I know some people went in, but Stewart to me was just like the most obvious clear lock from that buy round. It's going to help you so much across that period that I was just like, get him in. So I assume most people at this point probably have him somewhere in the team, but George, are you looking at him at all, or are you just going to let it ride into the sunset?
I don't like my soft tissue history. No for me.
What? I'm not going to get into it, but his soft tissue history is a lot less than a lot of players you currently own.
Not really.
I mean, not to mention
you're talking about this other year to do. Was it soft tissue? No. Was the gastro he had come from some muscle in his body last year?
Yeah. Yeah. Not to mention, you talk about targeting like soft fixtures, and the 2 games before his buy, Western Sydney and the Bulldogs. Like those are pretty nice matchups for defenders. So lap up some points there. I think he's got he's
in the home games.
That part of the fixture now where they start playing a little bit more Melbourne, a little bit more Goomba. So Looking forward to those.
We'll move on. Sicily, a big target, probably the #1 that we all advocate for. Sitting at 550 and has a 50 break even. JD still doesn't. He doesn't like the Sis. I'll get into that. But
he's lifting heavy for me in fantasy, but and I was actually surprised looking at his thing because he did have that 60 a couple of weeks ago, a bit like Sinclair, but the rest of the games have been tons. Like 4 of his last 5 games have been tons, and 3 of them have been over 125. So he's actually been scoring really well the last 5 weeks. Kind of like it's a surprise 550k, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, had a couple of down ones.
The Jeremy Cameron game where he lost it.
Yeah, I mean, it boils down to that, really. Yeah. Like, he's played maybe 3 or 4 games as the second key tool, and the rest as not. Like, Blank played early, just got dropped for whatever reason, and now he's back, and it's all good. From
I think the key with Sicily is that he's happier playing this role rather than keep position.
Probably is, yeah.
So he probably won't lose his head as much. Mind you, watching him on the weekend, he was bullying West Coast. He was like taking a contested grab in front of him, mouthing off, going back and taking his kick. It's pretty funny to watch. The West Coast, they're at shambles. So not expecting that sort of dominance every week, but yeah, straight in for me this week.
So interestingly, the top 5 5-round averages in defenders over the last 5 rounds. Number 5 is Sinclair at 107.6. Number 4 is Stewart at 107.8. Then Sicily at 112.8. Darcy Moore at 117, and then Jack Zeeble leads the pack at 118 points. So, interestingly, we talk about Dawson and Dacos and some of these other boys, but it's actually Sicily, Stewart, Sinclair, Zeeble, and Darcy Moore.
Yeah, And Scissors is in there with a 60 and doesn't have 180 like Siebel does either. So
And Sicily's in there with a 60 as well. So yeah,
that's what I mean. Yeah. Like that option. We'll roll into Sinclair as another one, as someone you could look at if you don't own. We're sort of dropping in price. Maybe
not now.
people
He's got the first buy. The first buy. So
yeah,
just
probably
wait.
you don't leave him this week, but yeah, definitely a target. Post buy,
Yeah.
just probably unfortunately he just went 160 and is going to be a bit more expensive than you would have liked, but he's still very cheap. After
It's
a 112
actually-
this week, it's got him at 550 for next. So
Yeah,
post buy about 550.
it's actually an interesting question. We probably should have covered in buy plan. Is there any premium that you would advocate bringing in this week from the round 12 buy? Because I think for me, it's just wait on all of them now. They play one game, then they're out for one. I just wouldn't trade in any one situation. I don't really care what the break even is or anything like that.
If you're really comfortable for that buy round that you're bringing him in for, I think you can. Because you're probably getting rid of a rookie anyway, so that you probably don't want.
Sure, if
maybe
you've got like
topped out.
20 playing easily already of good quality, then
Like
yeah.
a Hollins or something.
Yeah, it's a bit tough, but yeah, it does depend how you're going. I'm okay with it. Look, obviously, yeah, you don't get it.
Well, I think
You're getting one
Sicily
premium
is the
score.
one. Sicily break even of 50.
Yeah, but Sicily doesn't play the
He's
first. Like
round 14.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like if you play the first buy, would you bring him in this week? And I still think the answer is probably no.
I just brought in Brayshaw and Steele like 2 and 3
Yeah,
weeks ago.
It's just like 2 and 3 games down to one now. It's one and then
Yeah.
one off.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
anyone
think I'm-
stands out.
I think I'm just hard no.
Um,
Rookies are fine, but I wouldn't bring in any premiums.
What if you were
like
trading
that.
Wilmot? You could just trade Wilmot this week to play on the same buy. Because whoever you bring in is getting a buy. So, and Wilmot has that buy. I guess it depends if you can upgrade or not. If not, you just do rookie corrections or trade Oliver if you want to go down that route.
Yep. Okay, cool.
unfortunately, I think a lot of those decent, cheaper options are from that buy, like your Brayshaw, Steels, Neil, Sinclair. They're all got that buy, and they're all nice and cheap. But finish off with some defenders. Yeah, so some cheaper ones. Well, Doc's actually gone up a bit in price after his recent form, but he is there if you are that way inclined. Seems to sort of be back to his sort of picking best behind the ball. I did spot him in the midfield at some point or two in the second half of that game, I think, but very minimal. It's sort of like 20% each game, 20, 30. So he's still just spending majority down back. He's going to be there. We know he can score back there. He just had a weird start to the year. But yeah.
McGovern's out of there now, so it's positive.
Depends what people's tolerance is. Trading in a player that they've traded out already this year, most likely. But I still think he's a good option. Standalone, I think he's a good option. We'll move on. We'll sail through a couple of these. Bailey Dale's there, has been spoken about a little bit. JJ going down for 8 to 10 weeks with a hammy. Has been a premium scorer before, but is really, in the last 20, 25 games, dating back to last year, has been pretty average. I think it's only like 2 tons this year in total. We'll get all the kick-ins back, though, as a positive, as JJ was sort of taking half of them, if not more. So he's there. Again, say you had like a Sard that we mentioned before as a concerning premium, you wanted to just jump off. You could go to a Dale, but it's probably someone that's just as concerning and you're unsure about. So that's
when
totally
JJ comes back for the last month and a half, it'll be frustrating.
Yeah, which is
no, like Bevo, who knows? Like, does he send Daniel back, who's playing good up the ground? So I don't know. I can't be bothered with Bevo, but if you're looking for a cheap option and you feel like you need to go that route, I think he's okay, but I would rather go for someone more proven and has a coach that won't restrict him potentially.
Could that be the last guy we've got here in Jordan Ridley, who, funnily enough, another one people had?
Please don't. Essendon, I think, had the most uncontested or most marks of any game this year. There's a very specific game plan to beat the Tigers. Like, they had to double their average uncontested marks. Yes, Ridley looked good, but it was like 14 marks. It was 30-something touches, and this isn't Essendon's game plan every. Not only that, but as we've kind of talked about a little bit, we're going into the soft fixture where Essendon's going to start beating up on these teams. It's even less use for Ridley, I think, in these games. I just don't see the score. This is as someone that has started him 2 years in a row, even though I didn't really want to, please don't. Please, I don't want to see people hating on because he failed as a super coach pick. I like the man too much. Just leave him alone. Let him be. He's not the ticket. All right. Just no. Let's move on from Ridley.
All right. So midfield targets. As I just literally mentioned with that round 12 bye, we got Sarong here. We got Andy B, Neil, and Steele, who all have that first bye and are all well. Sarong's over 600, still playing very well, and someone I think we all believe now is probably going to be top 8 mid this year. Whether he can just sustain it for the full year is probably what we need to see. But his profile and him himself is all pointing towards that. Any of these guys, we'll probably just group them together, George, that you want to speak about the most, or what you see here that stands out the most. Andy maybe sort of already gone. He was quite cheap. He's still 570, so if you like him enough, you can get him. But I think one I'd probably want to ask you about first is probably Lockie Neal, because he's been on the radar for some people. Others just don't want to go near him. But 560, one of the best scorers, in his prime that we've seen. Are you interested at all in Lockie Neal?
At the right price, yes. I'd rather Sarong. Just looking at that fixture, it's pretty nice. Post by Hawthorn, Sydney, St Kilda, Richmond, West Coast. Oh boy.
Not bad, is it?
Then Melbourne, who give up. I think he's fine. I lean towards players in the age bracket of 28, maybe 29 and under. I think he's 30 now. So always a chance of slight regression. That's kind of just the way I see it, but he looks fine. He's had a few down games, which is a concern. And just watching the lines, it's like they're playing like the dogs. They're like flicking it around in the midfield. They're all getting more touches for whatever reason. So I think he's a fine option. What does he average? 105 to 110, I think, post buy. He's not getting tagged anymore. So I think that's where I'd put him. I'm not sure. I think he's fine. If he got to 600, I wouldn't touch him. But at his price 560, I think that's fine.
So this is an exercise we're going to do in probably a couple of weeks once we come off the round 12 bye. But I'd love to get your take now on like Steele, Nearshaw, Sarong, who are like the 4 midfielders off the top of my head that are all in that round 12 bye that you could reasonably trade in afterwards. Like, where is Neil on that list? Because the price is that different on some of these boys at the moment.
Okay, so there's
Sarong a bit more, but sure. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the list is Sarong, Brayshaw, Neil, Steele. Number 1, Sarong. Number 2, Steele. Number 3, Brayshaw. Number 4, Neil is what I'd do, where I'd have it. To elaborate.
What about versus Chad Warner?
No, I don't care for Warner.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm going to get from Warner. I haven't seen a full season of premium from him. I've seen a full season of premium from the others. It's as simple as that for me. He could be good, but Sydney are crap, and I don't know what I'm going to get from him.
Eno, where do you sit on the 4?
I think Sarong's, no doubt, number 1. It's where the rest fit in. I'd probably even have Andy as number 2. In the prime of his career, seems to be healthy with that knee. I know he's not the greatest Supercoach scorer in the world, but I still have concerns over Neil's age, obviously number 1, and then Steele, his body still. For me, I'd probably have Andy 2, and then George probably hate me. I'd probably almost lean towards Neil 3, Steele 4.
That's fine.
I don't hate Steele. I just Neil does worry me though. You look at the 60 and 70s and he scores, and you go, "That's concerning." Like, that's full-time mid. He's been playing full-time mid in those games. What happened? He does concern me.
I think the problem I have with Neil and why he'd be 4 for me as well is like I just don't understand where his increase in scoring comes from. Steele is obvious. He's been injured, presumably no longer injured. Post bye, assuming things go well between now and then, he picks up. Brayshaw's had a problem with his knee. Freo have been bad. They know that his knee's fine. He keeps going. And then Sarong's been smashing Neil when it comes to scoring this year. So what changes for Neil? He's 88% for the year. Unless it's injury or a change in philosophy, which I don't know why they would, because they're winning and they're not Neil reliant, which is what the weakness was before you tagged the lines. Like, So why, like, what is changing that makes Neil worth picking over any of these boys? And so, like, for me, that's why I'm like, I don't care. It's not because he hasn't done well in the past. It's not because he won't be okay. It's just there's better options everywhere I look than Neil, which is, sad to say, but I just there's around it for me at the moment.
Yeah. On the other hand, I can see him easily going a month of just monstrous scoring like he has in the past. So
go 180s for a month, but why? Right? This is where like process over, I just there's nothing in the process that says he's the man.
Yeah, like he used to get 30 every week. Now there's some games where he's getting 20, 21, 22, and it's just like not enough for a guy like him who handballs a lot, doesn't hit the scoreboard much, blah, blah, blah. And Dunks is there, and he's taken a lot of, ball away, and Dunks gets involved quite a lot around the ground in uncontested stuff. So,
yeah, Ashcroft is taking up a lot of the easy hit up stuff that Neil used to get as well. I've noticed that. And Dunkley's the target through the ground now. And the thing is, right, Neil doesn't look bad in these games. He's not playing badly. He's not in bad form. He looks good at the end of the games, but it's just not a 130 coach anymore. It's 100. But once again, why would that change now? It looks good from the lines of playing like a premiership side. So they're not going to mess with this. I just don't think the Supercoach upside is there unless Dunkley or Ashcroft or someone like that goes down.
Yeah, he has help now. That's simple as that. He used to be one-man army carrying, very young McCluggage and Berry types and doing it all himself, but that's not the case anymore. Last one we got down here, George, is old Jordan DeGoey, who I won't lie, I have had a look at, but I can't bring myself to do it. I can't. No. I don't think it's possible. The fixture is obviously very nice, but last time I picked someone for fixture, got to stop looking at that and just look at the player himself. He could most certainly go big over the next few weeks, but it's not someone I'd want to own for the rest of the year. So you're basically locking yourself into another trade of, at his buy, getting rid of him again. And that's just not really something I'm in position to do. So, let that man slide. And that's without mentioning all the other stuff that could go wrong with the goal as well. So we will move on. Forward targets, this could be a spot where we kind of have to look at a few, other ones. If we don't get a Walsh, we don't get a Gawn. McRae's probably locked in at this stage. It's happening. So Butters, Cogs, they're obviously guys that maybe the lower owned of the, everyone's all got the big guys, the Taranto, Dunkleys, Rosie, etc. But it's probably still one of these two guys you have. Butters is 620 now. Very frustrating to all us non-owners that we haven't gone there. You can't really go there now. He's got that terrible buy. He's a lot of price, money. We've just got to sort of hope and pray that he can have a down game at some point. And
I don't know when the scoring's going to end. He's got
the Tigers this week. He's got Hawthorn next week. Fuck.
He was hampered for a month, and he's still leading the coaches' votes.
Didn't even have the role for him the first month of the season. So
we saw signs of this for years, and then it's finally come together. Those that have him, I honestly don't know how we're going to catch him.
No.
I think actually you could, if you were okay for that last buy, which literally no one is, I think you could do Oliver to Butters.
Clary to Butters, yeah. I don't even treat him as a forward, man. He's a top 8 mid in this game.
Yeah.
He just is.
Yeah. I'm not against it. It's just...
despite not owning him, I'm so happy because, you guys know from the Discord, I was bang on all preseason about how I think Butters is better than Rosie, and that's no knock on Rosie. I just massive Butters.
I don't even think we need to have that conversation. They're all good, and they have Jason Francis. This is a dynasty.
But the only question was would he get enough CBAs? And yeah, he's got the CBAs now, and what we knew he could do. It's just durability, and then the buy is bad, and now he's priced out. So I just don't think you can actually. He's probably not worth the money. So it's a little bit like what happened with Dawson here, where he just shot up in price because he had these couple of big games, and it's just the price you pay for what you get just isn't worth it, despite how good they're playing. Same thing happened with Oliver. I think Butters is at that point where his risk return isn't worth the price you pay anymore. But for those that have him, just enjoy the ride because he's amazing to watch each week.
He's going to get 150 the next 2 weeks as well and be about 700k. Honestly, I fully expect that. So
because you're waiting for a regression game. He's been getting best ons, and then he does that. Now he's got Richmond, no Hopper. I don't know. When is it going to end?
He's got Richmond in general. Doesn't matter who's in the team or not. He's just got Richmond. and then Hawthorn at home. So, yeah.
But the bounce back with the new coach happens every year.
The bounce back
Tigers
might be
get
a
up.
win, but it will still be Butters 160 on the other end. And it won't be
Tigers
a
get a
win. I'll
win,
tell you that
Butters
much.
gets a double ton.
It won't be a win. Let's look at some more. Let's talk about, obviously, Cogs is there. We brought him up. Jelly out for a month. Decent fixture. Opens up.
Yeah.
He's there. Someone I might consider. But of course,
I'll tell you what, being outside of the Cogs Butters ownership stack just feels awful. So hopefully Cogs pulls it back a bit over the next month, but I'm not clamoring to jump on him. He's not great viewing.
Is there anyone else you want to mention? I mean, Bailey Smith we sort of brought up earlier is there. Speaking about McRae, but it's a bit of terrorism with Bevo, so
it's the same buy is the problem as well. It's again, just you don't want the round 15 buys the bad buy for the forwards, and so I'm just not for these types. And we thought we might get Walsh as well as a forward, which still could happen. And then it's I really can't get any of these types because then how do I ever get in Walsh?
Yeah.
I think the only one that I've been having a little bit of a cheeky look at is Jeremy Cameron, just because of the buy, and then the other Cameron Darcy is probably worth quickly touching on as well. Any belief that the Cats can turn around form and Cameron can kind of get back to what we saw in the early rounds, I think is question one.
Just don't have the midfield. They're not going to get it to him enough. There's no danger in there to get it out of the guts enough. They have no power mids. They've got just your Atkins and your
this week as well.
Similar type of mids. They have no They've just lost Holmes, did you say? So they have no of that type of power mid that can extract it and get it to him. So we might see Jez in there. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised.
Yes, he could be playing full-time mid. They get Gary Rohan.
Wouldn't be surprised. He's done it in the past.
Yes.
I can't sit through key forwards. I can't do it. I just get too trigger happy. 150 break even hamstring last year. Oh no, maybe it was the year before. No, I can't. I think this week GWS have no key defenders, so it might be a fun week. I can't sit through it, so I just And
then the other one is Darcy Cameron then. So people obviously looking at him as an option last week until the talk of him being the sub and not getting named and then being the late in kind of happened. Didn't particularly great, but definitely did some all right things in the game. I think his break even's now at a point in the 130s where it probably doesn't make sense to bring him in this week. You now kind of get free looks and can get him as a cheaper option. But if you guys still got an eye on Cameron as someone that you might want to bring in, especially given he's one of the forward targets that doesn't have the last buy.
For sure. Yep.
At the right price, then I don't know what the role was going to be. Plus, he's kind of injury prone. So, but at least it's post buy. It'll be 10 weeks yet to get through. If you get free looks at it, like you said, just wait and see.
Yep, want to see the right time go up, JD. Really. So,
I mean, the promising sign was that his CBAs were back to what we saw at the start of the year. So it was 67%, which is right in line with what he had at the start. But
contest?
It was. Yeah, the ruck contest might be a different story. That's the one I haven't checked yet because who looks at the proper
60-40. So it's pretty much what it was in the opening rounds with Cox.
Yeah.
So
I have a feeling, and I haven't checked it yet. In a way, don't have all the setup, but I have a feeling that he didn't have the highest time on ground, so they did manage him a bit through the game.
No, he didn't. They both had 60s, him and Cox. So, yeah, definitely management.
If they're winning, they could sub him off going forward if they're up by a lot.
The first year where he played full was 77% and 84%. So he's down 20% time on ground. So I think maybe that's the thing that we're kind of waiting for. When does the time on ground tick up into the high 70s? And that's probably a sign that you could jump on and buy. All right, cool. Thanks for discussing those. Let's keep going.
Beautiful. And then obviously, keep a look at Gawn and Walsh and anyone who might get DPP. But, get to the rookies. We'll finish off with some of those, some expensive ones. Now, a few here that people have missed the boat on, so to speak, but is there any merit in any of them, George? I'll ask you. Atkins, 290 now. Humphrey, basically the same. Weddle, 230. A lot of people might be kicking themselves they don't have him, who's already made 100K and has obviously that big score in the cycle. So any merit in looking at one of their directions this week?
I think over the next 5 weeks or 4, whatever it is, I think they should all make 100K given their low break evens. I think Atkins is 3 and he's the highest break even. The other 2 are
I've got tons in the
50.
cycle. So
So we're talking about Atkins, Humphrey, and Weddle. I would bring in a Gold Coast lad if you have the trades too and you need help during the buys. I don't have the trades, but I need help in the buys. But I still don't have the trades, so I'll be passing. Bloody hell, I wish I went Humphrey. His role's so good and he looks great. He had 26 touches, dude. He's taking points away from Anderson.
Yeah, to be fair, Anderson getting attention helps, but Atkins is good too. I don't think there's anyone out there with all 3, and if you are, well done. You're looking bloody good for some not only scoring but cash gen.
Yeah.
During the buys.
Those 3 and Seamus Mitchell have been the 4 big ones, really. And then I think anyone picked up Mitch Nevitt, which is a bit of a side. I think that's going to be really good. He's looked good in his games. And with
down.
Holmes, big fan. I'm kicking myself I didn't pick up him as well. But with the injuries
on his way, of course. So
I think he's going to look good for the next couple of weeks. I reckon they have a lot to come back buys. So maybe he doesn't actually play out the rest of the buy rounds, which would be a bit of a shame. But big fan of Nevitt. So George on Humphrey, because I'm a big I shouldn't be bringing in 285K half forward rookies for average sides. It doesn't make sense. But the low break even and then the job security through the buys, where I'm as I mentioned, I've kind of got 18 and 16 for a couple of these. So talking about trades, I'm Josh Kelly or Oliver Owner. I'm doing a sideways of one of these, and I kind of have say I've got leftover money. I could either go a Cowan or a down to Fleeton, who we'll talk about a little bit, and that doesn't help my buys but makes money. Or I could use my bank to move them up to someone like Bailey Humphrey, who won't make as much cash. Plus, I've got to pay, but I get the points during the buys. How do you weigh these up? What are you thinking about with which path people should take?
Then you got to get the pen and paper out and work out how many points you're going to get and what you want your final team to look like, and if you can get there by bringing in a 280K player. Because if you're going to cop, if you think you're going to cop donuts for 2 buy rounds, but you got Humphrey there, you're probably going to get, say, averages 80. I don't know, 80.
I mean, if he averages
160 points and 100K,
it makes sense. Yeah. So say he gets you 150 points during the buys. Is that enough?
Yeah.
It's like.
But what does it cost you this week?
30 points over replacement at one point. Well, he means that you can't do an upgrade next week, which I don't think is a problem because no one's probably upgrading next week anyway. You're just getting ready for the buys. But it does mean you've got a whole bunch of money into him that you need to then trade out eventually.
If you got the trades, I'd still go Humphrey.
Okay.
Because you're not doing anything next week anyway, but you're getting points.
No, you're probably not. Maybe you're getting Wardlaw if he looks really good. And I think that this is part of the consideration as well. If we had rookies next week that were Gold Coast rookies or Geelong rookies, or were in the first buy or whatever that we handle, Humphrey wouldn't be as attractive. But it's the bad buy that Fleeton, Wardlaw, and Ford all share. If you know that you're going to bring in one of these guys in the next couple of weeks and your structure already looks bad, then Bailey Humphrey all of a sudden seems less bad, even though he breaks all the rules of what we should and shouldn't be trading in.
He's a quality rookie. You look at Wardlaw, you hope he holds it together with his hamstrings, but they've built him up, so hopefully he's good for a short period. And then Ford is a forward, bit of time on the wing as well, I think. I think they're going to be quality rookies, but at least there's no issues. Humphrey is a high half forward / CBA mid, whereas Ford could easily score a 40, or Wardlaw, Touchwood, has the injury issues. But and then you pay for quality, you get you should know what you're going to get with Humphrey. I think you'll get 80 average given what he's done and how he's looked. But then again, we see these rookies hit the wall, like Ginby, Hollands, they're kids. So Ashcroft we thought was hitting a wall and then goes berserk. Oh, it's a tough one. Would you go Atkins or Humphrey?
If you had neither, probably Atkins.
I think the thing about Atkins, which is nice, is like the news on Weller was like, we still don't know when he's coming back. We don't know when that could be. I guess the thing is though, like it's not 1 or 2 weeks now. It's 5 until the end of the buys, and like Weller should be back in the next month. I think they've also got Buderick coming back soon, don't they?
Don't know, but I feel like Atkins has done enough to hold at this point,
Lemons
right?
sputtered it up. McAndrews sputtered it up pretty
He's
bad.
He's played well.
Lemons is out for Buderick, still a month away. So maybe it could be Atkins because he probably does have job security for another month. Oh, yeah,
I've thought about getting Atkins now at 290. He can get to 400 plus, and a lot easier than Humphrey, I think.
Even if you don't get the 100K, you're going to get the points during the buys. That's you're paying for points and a bit of a price rise. So it's not just as simple as you're playing for 100K. It's points.
You kind of want that as well, which I think they'll get.
Because I think coming to the buy rounds, it's like the health of your squad is going to be so important. Like I've got a dead bench. I'll correct a few to the North boys, but still, I'm still going to have, once I correct it, I'm still going to have 4 or 5 dead bodies. Whereas that extra warm body with good job security and money making, all that in one is a pretty nice deal, especially if you can't upgrade next week anyway, which is pretty pointless.
Okay.
I would grab one if you can. If you don't have the trades, then you go down all the way down next week to the North boys.
All right, let's wrap it up. If to grab one, which one is it, George?
I don't know. I think Humphrey's got the lesser break even, but I'd probably favour the senior body in Atkins.
In a better role. Yep. JD?
Oh, I want to own Humphrey, but if I remove the name Atkins and just look at like the role and everything else.
I struggled to do that and it cost me.
Yeah. Far out. Because I think I'm probably doing this now. Originally I was going Fleeton and Laird for like just doing an upgrade, but now that I go sideways, Josh Kelly, I'm probably I should just fix my buys.
I would take Atkins over Fleeton.
No, but like it was 1 up, 1 down. Like
Doing
it wasn't a sideways.
Wouldn't have worked.
And then so that's right there. Yeah. So I don't know. I'll think about whether I want to bring one in and whether it's Atkins or Humphreys. Yeah. Okay.
And there's another one there in Kieran Briggs who I still don't know what's happening with Bruce.
Scored 110.
Scored all right.
250K.
All right. But he's a ruck only. Where do you fit him in? Obviously, really only R3. Is that feasible? Probably not.
I mean, also last buy, so like it's just it doesn't really help you, does it?
No, it doesn't work. Bubble this week, we've got Baldwin at the Dons. JD, give us a quick wrap up there. He's actually looked okay, but how's his job security?
Yeah, so no, it looked really good. I mean, so he was highly touted as a junior, then had a couple of injuries, came in and played forward for us for a little bit, and then got moved to defence. So he's 2 games this year that he's played have both been defence, both like first games at AFL level as a defender, and looked really good in both of them. Week 1, he got by Danaher pretty badly, but then last week against an undersized Richmond forward line, held his own. Only conceded 1 goal, I think, to Ryan, and that was off the back a mark that wasn't a mark, but as a Samson Ryan owner, like we take those. But yeah, I thought he looked really good, and I think the other thing that was pretty impressive was some of his, like he had a good inside 50 and stuff. So I think it's actually a really hard decision for Essendon this week because him playing also freed up and helped on that side too. So Laverty and Kelly are the 2 that are out that need to come back. Laverty is actually could come back. So if Laverty comes back and Baldwin holds, it's actually probably a pretty good sign. But then it's just what do they do with Kelly when he's available as well, and whether that defense is too tall. So look, I really like him, and I think he's done enough to hold. But given that he's in because of injuries and not because of like someone else's, I just think the job security is pretty weak, and yeah, that makes it quite hard to actually back him in. He's also, I think, at an elevated price, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, really like him, but I just think like there's really strong chance that it'd be as stiff as it would be that he gets dropped in the coming weeks.
Yeah, he's 170K. I think he could be an option there, but Fleeton is there and has just really opened up for him on the job security front with not only defenders in the current team going down, ones that were behind. It seems their whole defense is dead. Ali's 2 to 3 weeks, Cummings still 4 weeks with the calf. Davis, who is still on the list, is 4 to 6 weeks with a calf. Haynes, Himmelberg, both concussions, listed at 1 to 2. So we know with those, they probably the defense feels like they're all leaning towards 2 these days with conservatism. And Sam Taylor still out for 6 weeks with his hammy.
And one other thing is right, like while the defender injuries have definitely been there, 2 weeks ago in his debut game, I think he had the second most for GWS behind Kelly, and then this week just gone, I want to say he had the most intercept possessions for GWS, and he's done some really tough things for the ball GWS lack at times. So he hasn't been the most prolific scorer like what we've seen in the VFL level, but I've actually liked how he's played in both games. Not like straight gameplay wise, like I prefer Bolden to Fleeton, but Fleeton's got much better job security with that like 1 month of injury list and cheaper. It's just the buy sucks, but no, I think he holds for the next month easily, and could potentially grow into that role. I think like the thing with Haynes and Himmelberg both going down as well as Cumming is they're like the 3 tall distributors, so they could bring in someone to kind of play like key defensive posts. Fleeton then be the third distributor behind Ash and Whitfield, and maybe his scoring does uptick a little bit. So I don't think he's the worst option, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it was mid-40 average for the next month.
Is he the best option this week, George?
I haven't watched Fleeton. I got no idea. I think, I'd back JD on that one, but just because I don't know, I think Ford and Wardlaw will hold. Whereas you think Fleeton will hold, but you're not sure. So I'll go that route next week.
I'm sure he's like in a month's time. I'd be surprised if he wasn't playing.
Okay. Yeah, there's just no one to come in. That's simple as that. Yeah. So I feel like you'd go him this week. You'd leave the North boys to play another game, especially Wardlaw would not look at him.
Who plays first?
For this week.
When did GWS play? Oh, they play early. So, like, if your North play late. So, I wanted to watch the North boys first and then decide whether to go Fleeton or not. But yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah,
I'll be waiting for the North
I definitely wouldn't anyway. Ford has obviously still been in the system a couple of years.
He got 100 in that first price rise, so that's gonna shoot him up.
Yeah, it is, but obviously only for one. So yeah,
and then you have to watch it. Can you imagine having Drury and Ford side by side bench?
At least he's been around a while.
Yeah,
Eddie Ford, I think he's like 22, so maybe.
Yeah,
I think 20.
Yeah. I couldn't do it to myself, I don't think.
Okay, it's 20. Yeah, look, it's tough. Then there's McAndrew, who, as we said, they've just lost all their ruckman again. Hickey out of nowhere with some concussion issues, I believe. And then Laddams on the weekend for unknown, but a lengthy time on the sidelines is what they've said. So don't really have much there. Like Sam Reed's out for the season. What was that, sorry?
Ankle, right?
Yeah, yep. Rolled his ankle, but they obviously know it's bad to say lengthy already for an ankle roll. So
it must be syndesmosis then.
Must be pretty bad. So he's there. He's got forward status too, which is nice, so we can get him on the forward bench. Just wait another week. Then he has the bye, and then see if he's in at round 13. Yep. And then the last one is Jai Clark you have here, but unfortunately, news tonight he's out for quite a while with a foot injury, so a couple of months I think they said for Jai Clark. 170k anyway. Unfortunately, he probably would have got a decent run, maybe in the guts the next few weeks if he was fit, but not to be. Anything else, boys?
Is there any chance O'Donnell has already played to get moved back to defence with the injuries down there? He was 102k. He still is. He's played 2 games. He's scored in both of them. I guess that's just a watch. Like his break even should be high enough that you can. It's like 21, so he's not going to go up that much. It's kind of a bit like Drew from last week. You just watch him play third and going if he gets a good role change. Were there any other like debutants? Because the only other ones I can think of about is like Fahey for GWS, who put up like another 40 touches in the weekend, is one that could come in on the back of Kelly going out. Like he was originally rebounding, but behind Ash and Whitfield wasn't really getting a game, so they started playing him on the wing a bit. So yeah, I think that's one that could come in given the defender injuries and Josh Kelly.
How can you go Fahey with like you got all these North boys coming in plus Fleeton if you want to grab him?
I mean, you can't, but I think like it's one of those things.
If he scores well.
Yeah, well, if he debuts this week, like I'd be very hesitant to trade in these other boys until I see Fahey play.
Yeah,
but we will get that early, the North guys.
Well, we can wait a week regardless, and he might not even come in. We've been saying, well, people have been saying he's going to come in every week, and he just hasn't. But I think this week, almost the hand's forced for them.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Oh, sorry. The only other thing is. We didn't really talk about we talked a lot about the GWS boys, but the Gold Coast boys, but say you already had Atkins or Humphrey, or at least already had one. Could you go Weddle this week over Fleeton, given that the buy's better and he's also put together like a big game? He's 230, I want to say.
Yeah,
100k more.
It's worth noting that he played key position on Tracy in his first game. And I've been saying this every week. He's getting more and more confident every week. That's why I brought him in. I expected a little bit of improvement, but like not 2 goals and 28 touches. That's absurd.
Well, George, when Sis was second key, he was third key, right? So tall forward lines, he's playing on the third tall. Now Sis has moved down to third. He's fourth. Now he's freed up. It's just
his roles. He's
completely different.
He's pushing up really high. He's hanging off the back of stoppage, and he's running into space, getting cheapies. And that wasn't Optus against West Coast, and they're not good at all. So not going to do that every week, but the role is very good. And he did this in the VFL. He had like almost 30 touches in the VFL game before he came in. So I think he's good for like maybe 70, maybe more. I don't know. Again,
he also won games for everything went his way, right? Like the second goal he kicked in the first quarter, the ball just bounced out to him, who just happened to be sitting free, right? Like it's just like fluky kind of turn of thing. You were talking about targeting Sicily this week because it's a smash matchup against the Saints. I mean, it's the same for Weddle and Mitchell. So they're both, I think, good on-field options this week. The only other thing, I think I wanted to call out was some people will be looking at trading Sincotta this week, but there's a decent chance he actually might get a game because Kemp for Carlton was absolute rubbish.
It was Boyd.
It was Boyd that was rubbish. Sorry, yeah.
Either way,
so
terrible.
Yeah.
I think I read Kemp was good in the VFL. Yeah.
Who was sorry?
Kemp's playing VFL, and he does rack up every week, but yeah.
Even Cowan roosted one from 55 out. I don't know if you saw that in the VFL.
They might eventually bring this Jackson Binns kid in as well. At some point, he's been dominating.
The only risk as well is that Marchbank returned to the VFL this week, and given that they've got a lot of rebounders and maybe not too many defenders, that Marchbank might get the nod over Sincotta at some point. But I think there is a chance Sincotta comes back this week, so just have trade plans ready for whether he is or isn't in the side.
Beautiful. All right, another big podcast, boys. Let's wrap it up with what we love most, and that's captains, which finally hit one.
Let's go.
126 isn't a hit, but for me, that is a hit this year. That is an absolute hit.
That's a good score this round, honestly, because most people took a Bond or Clara.
Beat Clara by 6 points. Thank you very much. What a fucking win for me.
Big win.
Still got 85 to make up from Took, so
that's the last time I've captained someone in the last game. Just wanted to enjoy the game until 3/4 time.
Rowan was really good in the second half. Probably big part of why they got over the line. He was really good. But my God.
There's something to be said for nailing your Friday night captain, because then the rest of the week is so stressful.
Exactly.
Banked it, doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah. Well, and this week, is anyone from Friday night an option? Probably not. You could be tempted by Walsh as an owner myself with how Sydney have been going, but maybe. I think
if you own Doherty, that.
Sicily, you're looking at George possibly against the Saints, loving him that much in that matchup.
It's interesting because we had I've put it on Oliver basically every week except for actually this week and maybe one more. So basically, he's been involved almost every week. So you might have to navigate a bit here. Do you want to put it on Laird?
Ironically,
last month
against Melbourne, you could put it on a Sarong or
No.
a Brayshaw.
There's talk that Laird might get rested. So I think that if that game gets blown out, I think we see Laird.
What's this talk he might get rested?
Just rumors, scuttlebutt, nothing official.
Where?
Just
Oh, don't do this. Aren't you bringing him in?
I'm bringing. He's in. There's no one else to bring in. Like, this is scary.
He's in my team right now as well.
Oh my goodness!
I need Josh Kelly was
find
goodness
the
come at worst
source.
time. I'm just telling you. Anyway, so I'd avoid Laird.
Okay.
I think there's a chance we still see him get rested at some point.
Another thing is, yeah, it's true. And then Bont had the knee knock. You think he's fine, but like Bont is notorious for playing through injuries and not telling anyone. He's done that a number of times, so I think I just want to see it. I guess back to Sicily. Nice matchup, playing a nice role. He'll be my VC. And then my C is like, I don't know, because the Supercoach website won't load and I can't see the teams. Okay, there we go.
Quickly then, I think
I'd strong VC if you have him.
Green becomes an interesting VC or C option this week, and even Cogs to a certain extent with no Josh Kelly. The other two GWS boys have kind of gone off when the third one's been out. So I think against a depleted Cats midfield that's kind of leaked points the last couple of weeks, I think you could look there for sure. Green in particular, I just don't see a matchup for them now. Like, I just don't know who they'd put on him. So I really like that as an option, even though Cats should probably be there. Petrarca is another interesting one. Look, lower owned. I'm kind of fortunate that I've got him, but with Clary out, I think the only other game that they played without Clary, one game sounds is not good, but it was a 140 for Petrarca. So taking over the midfield, I think that's a little bit of an interesting option there. Merritt is one that people might look at just because they see Western obviously last week's score, but there is a chance that Xavier O'Neill goes to him. So if you could have him as a vice captain option, I think that's all right, but I just can't see the captain being like a great team. Laird, we kind of already talked about. I'm kind of interested in Dacos this week, even though he's had a poor kind of month. I'm just not sure North tags him. And I could see him get off the chain pretty good in that game, but maybe that's more of a fantasy play than a super coach play.
I think Bailey Scott, right, could probably do a running job. One of the better runners in the league.
That's true. Who did they put him to last week? Goulden, right? And that worked pretty well
for a half, I think. Yeah. He's a good runner, one of the better runners in the league. So
yeah,
it's Nick Dacos, but maybe it keeps it to 100 like it has been recently instead of 130.
And then like the Port boys into Richmond's poor midfield in terms of Butters, like those are the types I'd like to be able to throw the vice captain on, but you probably seen enough over the last month that you could hit the C on them as well.
Look, I'd throw the C on Butters, but I guess it's always going to be scary with his play style. But scoring wise, I wouldn't be. I would not be worried. Yeah, I think if I was to get Sarong in this week, which seems a bit silly before his bye, it would be him. Otherwise, Tom Green. Yeah, I do like Tom Green as a VC, and then it just comes down to who the backup captain is. Is it just Bont or English on Saturday night?
There's not a lot of loops. Like a lot of them are early.
Yeah, look, I'm thinking Constable. People still have is there as an option, but you're right though. You're dead. Carlton Rooks and Sydney Rooks are on Friday night, so they're all useless.
Chess is back. Drury might get dropped for those that have Drury, so that could be a good loop for owners. Yeah. And then Sharp could be unlucky, but then he could also get dropped.
Yeah, but George is right. Madden in the fourth game, so yeah, might have to look early. First three games for first three games.
I'll probably go VC Sicily and C Laird unless I see some concrete stuff on this resting.
Yeah. I think I'm VC Petrarca into C, Green or Bont this week.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably VC Tom Green into Bont. Gold Coast midfield is not. Don't think there's anyone there off the top of my head that can handle the Bont at Gold Coast at the minute. So. TIO Stadium, bit of dewy ball. That's
it's the problem.
Always makes that look clean though.
Actually, what's the weather forecast for the G this weekend? Tell you what, I'm not watching Petrarca play in the rain again.
Oh yeah.
Weather forecast.
Is he still under? Is he still under a cloud? Is he going to actually just go into like a full-time mid-roll to take up Clary's, or is he going to still be managed
No.
forward? I don't know.
No, he's been playing more midfield, right? Like he was at 34% time. Now he's at 29% forward time. Like he's been dropping. This week was 64% CBAs, which was the most in the last month.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I think we'll see that trend up. And just checking the weather forecast, looks like to be rain on Thursday and Sunday, but nothing on Friday or Saturday. I think they're Saturday, right? So we should be good to go. Petrarca VC. Let's roll, boys.
Beautiful. All right, that's it. Anything else you boys have got to say? JD's already hit the exit button. The Nuggets are on the way to the NBA Finals, Jordan. I don't know why I didn't say it at the start, but my God, was it a happy day for me today, seeing them get as far as I've ever been as a franchise. I was honestly lapping it up that much. I forgot that my own coach walked out the door this morning. I didn't even see anything. I didn't even watch anything about Dimmer. I was just loving the Nuggets that much. But yeah, tomorrow, JD, we'll see if your team can join them.
Yep. Heat Nugs final will be good, and look, at least one of us at the end of it. And to be honest, I'm thinking given we were lucky to get the 2 winning in, like I'm pretty happy with this far down the path, right? And if we knock off the Celtics, then we'll call it a win. But
they were Max Strus like flamethrower last 4 minutes in that playing game of just not being in there at all. That's just crazy. So I guess the NBA slightly got what they wanted with that play-in, but maybe not so much with the Lakers or Celtics not being there. But who gives a shit? Thanks for joining us on another podcast. We'll see you for the next round 11. Cheers.